Paris travel tips. I'm going to give you some tips to make it easier to plan and enjoy your trip. This is Graciously Gloria. So first off, let's talk a little bit about customs and language. So you really want to learn some few basic customs when you're traveling, and that way you can kind of immerse yourself in the culture, and it does make you feel more comfortable. So I would say you want to learn some basic phrases. Now again, I took Spanish, not French, so if I mispronounce anything today, it's okay. At least I'm trying. And that's actually what the French will appreciate, that at least you did give it a try. So you want to learn basic phrases like hello, bonjour, please, s'il vous plaît, thank you, merci, or you could say merci beaucoup, which is thank you very much. So learning just those basic phrases does go a long way. One of the big customs that I learned is that when you actually are entering an establishment, so that could be a restaurant, a shop, whatever, you do always want to give a greeting when you enter. They kind of consider it like as if you're entering their home. And if you entered someone's home, of course you would greet them. So just keep that in mind when you're entering, and it won't make it feel strange that you're always going to say hello when you enter, but you just always say bonjour, and that's a nice greeting. And just giving a try of their language will earn you some amount of respect with the Parisians. Another custom I would say is that they think Americans tend to be a little bit loud. So I would say when you're in a restaurant, perhaps don't try to speak super loudly, and that way you won't stand out amongst the crowd. I would also say dressing up. I always think that when I'm traveling, dressing up is a great occasion to look nicer and pull out those nicer clothes. I think you would also just feel more comfortable because Parisians tend to dress up. So you want to avoid things such as leggings, graphic tees, but you can wear things that you find comfortable. There's a lot of pants out there that are stylish yet comfortable. And I can do a separate video just on things that I wore to Paris to give you some examples. It's really important to wear comfortable walking shoes. You are going to be walking a lot to see all the various sites. The shoes that I chose to wear were my Echo shoes and my On Cloud sneakers, and I found those both to be very comfortable. I walked miles and miles and miles every single day, and having a pair of comfortable shoes is important. Having that extra pair, in case you hit some rain, you have a dry pair that you can pull out for the next day, or if you make it back to your hotel for later that evening. When you're at restaurants, tipping is included. So they give their servers a living wage. So you don't need to worry about actually tipping. They will get paid well. And if you do find that they give you extra great service, you could leave a couple of euros. You will see sometimes on the bill a service charge included. And so that fee is already there. And it's not a separate different fee such as a tip, but that's included all in one price on your bill. The next thing is travel safety. You want to be aware of your surroundings. That is your biggest defense for things like pickpocketers. I'd read a lot about pickpocketers, and I can tell you I was actually kind of concerned about it when I went. And you find those might be in areas like going on the metro, getting on or off the metro, so be particularly aware of those times. You can have things like an anti-theft purse that zips up and has a little lock. I also have these other little lock zippers I can stick on a different purse or perhaps on luggage, and I can link those below. And the other thing, you might have somebody, for example, who's going to come up and wants you to sign a petition. Obviously, you can't vote there if you're not a Parisian or you're not from France. So why would you want to sign a petition? So I had someone come up and I just said no. And because what they perhaps might do is distract you while one person's having to sign the petition. There was a second person who might have come in and reached into my bag. So avoid those kind of situations. And again, just be aware, particularly on the metro. And the other thing you can do is have a phone lanyard. And so that way, if someone tries to pull out your phone, you have that attachment there. You want to be prepared to walk a lot. Remember to drink lots of water. You could bring a refillable water bottle with you or just buy water. I got water also just at cafes. You could ask for un carafe d'eau, is how you would say it. And that way you're making hydration an important part of your trip. I would say that Paris is easy to navigate. And you do want to be careful as you're walking, though. I would say it's safe, but you do have lots of bicycles. So watch out for those bicycles because they'll kind of zoom past you and you don't want to trip and get injured on your vacation. So watch out for those bicycles. The other thing that I thought was interesting, I was on a street, it was like a cobblestone street. And you are on a cobblestone street, you're not anticipating to see a bus, but all of a sudden here comes a bus barreling down the street. And I could hear some kind of like ringing bell, like from a distance. And I turn and I see this bus barreling down the street and I yank my daughter out of the way. And so just be aware, even if it's a cobblestone street, there might be a bus coming on it. And that was in the Monet district that I came across that. Another interesting custom that I find about Parisians is that there's almost like this go, go, go mentality in the sense that reminds me of New York, let's say, where people are just like in a busy kind of on a path to get somewhere. But then when they're relaxing, they really relax. So it's like they're like a go-go or stop and let's relax. Particularly at cafes when they're out to eat, they are going to enjoy their meal and not be rushed. And you actually do need to ask for the bill when you're ready to go. So anytime you're going to go out to eat, just be prepared that if you're going to sit down, it's going to take a while and you want to stop and enjoy that time too. So find yourself planning that into your schedule to take that extra time and enjoy it. As far as paying, I end up using Apple Pay quite a lot. So you can use Apple Pay. You can get some euros out at a bank and you can have credit cards. So that's easy to pay when you're in Paris. As far as using your phone, there's a couple different options there to get service. I end up going through the Verizon and doing the daily plan, and you can just set that up before you go. Like, for example, if you have Verizon, you let them know that you want to use that daily plan, and then when you're there, any day that you're there, they recognize that you're there and they will charge you for that day. Verizon also has another option, which is the international plan. And then another option that I read a lot about but didn't give it a go is the eSIM. So there's a lot of great YouTube videos about eSIM out there if that's something you're interested in looking into. But you'll have great service whatever you pick probably within Paris. So you want to make sure to bring your portable phone charger. And I would carry that, I would say bring that in your purse, or let's say you have like a small backpack. Bring that with you while you're traveling because you don't want to run out of battery on your phone when you're busy trying to navigate around or you're trying to take pictures and videos. The other thing you want to bring related to electronics is an adapter. An adapter is what you put your charging cables into, put that into the wall because they have a different outlet structure there. And so you'll be able to charge things. And so make sure you bring your charging cables, an adapter, and your portable charger. Okay, so the next thing is food. You want to try all the delicious pastries that you can have. They are delicious, they are inexpensive, and they're just a few euros. So it's so much less expensive than the ones in the US. I had the most delicious eclairs there. Oh my goodness, the best I've ever had, and the croissants. So you're going to be walking a lot, so don't feel guilty for eating so many lovely pastries while you're there. You want to stop by cafes, it's easy just to stop by and enjoy a drink or enjoy a lovely croissant. Now, one thing, a tip to know is they may charge you a different price for sitting down. So, for example, there was one time I was going to get croissant and they told me it was, I think, either a euro or two more to sit down. I think that's because they were paying their wait staff for the service. So just keep that in mind, but it's worth it to pay those extra dollars to be able to sit at a cafe. When you're at a cafe, people watching is fun. You actually kind of sit next to each other and you face out and you can see the Parisians and the other tourists walking around. So enjoy a cafe and take that time. I'd recommend you make reservations at the must-see places. So we only made a few different reservations, be it for lunch or dinner. And some of my favorites were Les Soufflés and La Favorite, the Pink Mama. So those, okay, so for the Les Soufflés, souffle for every different course. So you had a souffle that was the appetizer, which was a cheese souffle. And they have some different options. But then I had the beef bourguignon souffle for the main dish and a chocolate souffle for dessert. So that's a fun restaurant. The La Favorite, that one was everything pink. So I just love a pink aesthetic. And so those had a fun drink to have there and wanted to make sure we enjoyed that. We went there for lunch one day. They also are not that far from Italy. So the Pink Mama had wonderful Italian food. So recommend that one too. I made a list of must-try French food items. So my list included French onion soup, an eclair, souffle, butter, cheese, wine, a crepe, and macarons. So funny thing about the butter, okay, the butter is delicious. They use that to cook all the different items that are so yummy, and in the pastries. And I did ask for butter one time at dinner to go with my bread, and they kind of looked at me funny. So I think they don't like to do that as much at dinner. They will serve you some butter with breakfast with a bread item, or perhaps even lunch. But at dinner, they looked at me funny, and then they gave me some olive oil. So that might be a regular thing there. And then another funny thing that happened was about the French onion soup. So I said, French onion soup, s'il vous plaît. And then the lady looked at me funny and she was like, onion soup? And I said, oui. And so I realized I didn't actually have to say the word French in front of the word onion soup because I was in France. Another thing I would recommend about the food is that easy just to get a quick sandwich even, delicious sandwich with ham and cheese I'd recommend. And also make your own charcuterie board. That was actually one of my favorite dinners. We just went to a grocery store and we got some different cheese to try and some prosciutto, desserts, some wine, some fresh fruit. Oh, the fruit there is just like the farmer's market quality, even at their grocery store. They have such good food in France. So you're going to enjoy yourself. Again, you're going to be walking that off. So those are some tips for you related to food. Next, let's talk about transportation. So for transportation, it's easy to use the metro there, and I'd recommend that. The apps that you would use are the Bonjour RAPT app and Citymapper. They're going to show you how to get from one place to the next. And the things to keep in mind when you're on the metro is which location you're going towards and what your exit is. And it can be a little hectic on the metro, but you'll figure it out, and you can get either a pass to go per trip, or we end up doing a daily pass and then a weekly pass. At that time, the weekly pass started on a Sunday. We chose the physical card because I thought I didn't want to have to pull up my phone every time, but you can. And that's like a nice souvenir as well. So you just scan that then entering into the metro, and you scan it on your way out. There was one or two times where actually mine didn't like scan properly, but then you can kind of flag like the worker and they will let you out or let you in, and you can just show them that you have the pass. They can look it up if needed. You sometimes will come across people trying to beg for things on the metro, so you could just kind of ignore that nicely. Uber works well there, so we use the Uber app. What I would say about that is that it's easy to call for your Uber, then you know ahead of time what the price is going to be, and then you can rate them and give a tip. So we use the Uber often when we just got tired of walking, or different times where it was just worked out better to take the Uber. They also have a G7 taxi app that I'd recommend if you want to give the taxi a try. You can create a Google Map list, and so what you do is just save all the locations that you're going to be going to, save that into a Google Map folder. You're able to share that folder with whomever you're going to be traveling with, so that's going to make it easy to navigate around. And then also the other advantage to creating that folder is you can see where all the locations are, and it's going to help you map out your days. And so you kind of just explore a certain area, and you're not kind of going all the way from here to there, and it makes it easier when planning, when you kind of know where all the items are that you're going to go to in Paris and the different neighborhoods. Next tip is about air travel. So we traveled via Delta through Air France. So if you're traveling directly from Air France, or Delta is using Air France, the thing to know there is they care not only about the size of your luggage, but also the weight. So you want to get yourself a little inexpensive luggage scale. Bring that on your trip with you. I kept that in my personal item backpack. And so before we got on, because we had so many different souvenirs and you kind of shuffle things around and decide if you need to check an item and all that. So you want to weigh it before you get to the airport, because once we were at the airport, we got through, we were actually even at the gate, and a person, an employee of Air France came over, and she was weighing my personal item and my carry-on to make sure not only was like looking at the size, but she wanted to make sure it was of the correct weight. And if not, then I would have had to check it. So keep that in mind if you're not wanting to pay those extra check-in fees. So souvenirs, so many great shopping items there. Go ahead and check out my videos that I made about my different souvenirs, different skincare that I purchased, and those are my pharmacy hauls, what I got, some items I got at the Monoprix. Grocery store has some great souvenir items, and there's some also little specialty shops like a chocolate shop, a tea shop, and a honey shop. So I recommend those. I didn't do any clothing or perfume shopping, but those are some more popular souvenirs to look at as well. And those famous flea markets, didn't get there, but that could be an idea too. Next, I like to talk to you about activities. So I recommend Get Your Guide. That's an app for excursions. You can do research on different excursions there. It includes different tickets to museums, a Seine River cruise. You can even do things like cooking classes, like how to make a croissant, how to make a macaron. So lots of options there. It helps you plan ahead of time to have those things booked. So you're going to save your time. You don't want your valuable vacation time waiting in line to get somewhere. When you have your pre-planned ticket and purchased and you have the ticket ahead of time through that app, there will be a shorter line that you need to go through when you get there, but you're not going to wait in that very long line just to buy a ticket. So that's going to save you, again, that precious time. Also, you'll know ahead of time where you're going to go, how much you're going to spend doing that excursion. I'd recommend a day trip to Giverny. Giverny is Monet's garden, so his inspiration and his house. So you get to see where he got inspiration to paint those water lilies. And for that day in particular, we went to the orangery first. So that museum has all the lovely water lilies. And then in the afternoon, went to his home and gardens. And we took a tour to do that. So we just did the museum tickets ourselves. I think we did that around 11:30, and by 2, we were going on the excursion for the rest of the afternoon. And the little town of Giverny is so quaint, and we had some food while we were there. Another day trip I recommend is Versailles. I would say you probably want to plan like a whole day. I mean, you could do it in half a day, but you're not going to get to see everything. So we took a train to get there. Once we got there, we enjoyed the little village and went to this market and got some lovely strawberries and some other items to eat. And then from there, you just walk over to Versailles. We had the tickets ahead of time, so that's important. Save you that time again and have your time when you're going to get there. And once you're there, we explored the palace first and the beautiful Hall of Mirrors and took lots of pictures. And then you want to explore the gardens. So you can walk around the gardens, but there's a couple other options I'd recommend. You can get a golf cart or a bike, or you can even go on a boat ride. So we chose the golf cart. There's a separate line to get your golf cart, and it's per hour. And that gave us a chance to see much more of the gardens than we would have seen on foot. Plus, we'd been doing so much walking the other days in Paris, gave our feet a little rest there. And that way, again, you can see the Trions, those other small palaces, because those are further to get to. So I'd recommend that when you're in Versailles. Some of my favorite museums were the Louvre, the Orangerie, the Musée d'Orsay, Dior, Sainte Chapelle with the stained glass, and the Hotel de la Marine is a lesser known museum. Now there's other museums we didn't get to that they have so many options there, but I'll speak briefly on the ones that I did see. For the Louvre, it's huge. So when you're planning that, have in mind what you want to see at the Louvre. So for example, I wanted to see Napoleon's apartments. My daughter wanted to see the different sculptures. So we made sure we saw those first. Then at whatever time you have left that you allotted, you can see the other things. I would say the Louvre is so huge, you're going to find those little pockets that are not very crowded. Like we went to see the ceramics, for example, and that wasn't as crowded, so you kind of have that reprieve from the crowds in the Louvre. And again, just recommend setting aside a good amount of time. But if you're getting kind of overwhelmed with museums, you can just spend a few hours and just see the must-sees while you wanted to go there. The Orangerie was where you're going to see Monet's water lilies, so lovely. It's not a very big museum, so it doesn't take you too much time to see it, but it is well worth your time. The Musée d'Orsay, the day we went there was very crowded. So I didn't enjoy it as much just for that reason, because I felt like I would look at this beautiful, I love Impressionist painting, and then I'm like just holding up my phone to take a picture of it rather than just standing in front of it for a few minutes to enjoy it, because it was so crowded there. Perhaps when you go, it won't be as crowded, but there is so much to see there. I would say the Dior, lovely. Beautiful designs. My daughter loves sketching, so she was sketching some of the clothing, and I just love to see all the lovely outfits and enjoyed that. And I recommend the Dior Museum. And the Sainte Chapelle, what doesn't take a lot of time to see, but the stained glass is amazing. You want to get out to a local park. So the Luxembourg Park, you're going to run into different Parisians there. It's really their local park, really, to them. And we saw little kids playing with their sailboats, and we got some little snack there and just walked around and enjoyed it. They actually had a little food place, so we ate lunch there within the garden area. So I'd recommend exploring that too. You want to get out and see the Seine. Everyone's probably heard about the Seine River. And we did a evening boat cruise. And oh my goodness, you could see the sparkling lights of the Eiffel Tower on the boat. There were some teenagers there singing Champs-Élysées, and something that you'd like kind of right out of a movie that you think they go around singing these songs. And they were, and I thought it was so cute. And I would recommend an evening boat cruise. And then you can walk along the Seine. And so there's a lovely bridge, I think it's called the Alexander Bridge, and that's a nice place to walk along the Seine, and you'll see just different people stopping. They don't even really put like a picnic blanket down or anything. They just kind of sit on the ground looking at the water, chatting it up. You want to explore the neighborhood. So I would pick, like, let's say one neighborhood to explore for that day. We picked, for example, Marais, and it had a lot of great different food items there. And that's where we found the different specialty shops that we enjoyed. The tea shop and the honey shop and the chocolate shop. And so pick an area to kind of explore for that day, I would recommend to kind of organize your days. Overall, for planning your trip, I would say hopefully this video has been helpful in giving you some good tips. Some other resources to look at are TripAdvisor, Pinterest is another great resource, other YouTube videos like French, they have great videos, and a Facebook group as well. And when I was looking into restaurants, I was also looking up Google reviews, and I was able to see the food items and what people recommended and what they thought of the restaurant. So I hope you have a wonderful trip to Paris. This is Graciously Gloria. Please consider subscribing for more tips and have a great day.